Welcome to Real Estate Success DFW, the podcast where top producing agents from Dallas-Fort Worth come together to share their stories and strategies behind their success. I'm Shaune Corbett, your host, and with over 300 million sold in the local real estate market and the honor of being best of D multiple times, I know what it takes to make it in this market. Each episode, we're going to dive into the world of real estate, learning from the very best in the industry. If you're ready to level up your game, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey everyone, Shaune Corbett, Real Estate Success DFW. I have got Ryan Enos with us, the famous Ryan, Detroit Tiger Ryan. You probably remember him. He does give out autographs. He charges $100 each, but he is online with us. How are you, Ryan?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being on. I appreciate you. And you and I actually connected even before all this, kind of just out of the blue. I was showing a house. It was a nice home, nice property. And the owners, I suspect, like to have the agent be there when the house is being shown because they're out of town. So I met Ryan in person. He was great. Definitely would love to have worked that deal with Ryan. It didn't work out, but it was a beautiful home. So we connected, and then we got reconnected through a mutual contractor that knew you and said, man, this guy's the guy you need to talk to. So that's how you ended up on the podcast. How about that?
Pretty awesome. Small world stuff.
I always start with, just a connecting aspect. Not all of us has played professional baseball, so that might be a little harder to connect with, but you have some things that got you into the real estate space. And I kind of want to go, why are you selling real estate? What got you into it?
Yeah. So I think you and I chatted about this offline a little bit. Like, not many people when they're in high school think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, be a real estate agent when I grow up. I feel like most of us kind of got into this a way that we maybe weren't expecting. For me, I was a part of a nonprofit kind of ministry organization in my early 20s, early in marriage. And a friend of mine through that organization, his name is JT Hardcastle, was also a licensed real estate agent and had just gotten his broker's license. And he hadn't hired any agents yet. And he and I kind of worked together in that nonprofit capacity. And we were at a function one day, and I was in the middle of getting a master's degree in counseling, actually. So I was pursuing a graduate degree, thinking I was going to be a professional counselor. I knew I wanted to help people, but I was kind of in that stage, like early 20s, trying to figure it out, didn't know what direction I wanted to take my life. And so I'm in the middle of the graduate program, and JT approached me one day and he was like, hey, I think you'd be good at real estate. I need to hire my first agent. Just got my broker's license. Like, you should look into getting a real estate license. And, I was like, man, I'll be honest with you. I'm newly married. I'm working full time, getting a graduate degree. Like, I got a lot on my plate right now, and I probably don't have time and space for that. And it's like the classic pitch. But, if you sell one house, you'll make your money back and then some. Maybe you pay off some student loans. Like, maybe it's not a career. Maybe it's just something that you do. And, I've got an entrepreneurial bug. I'm a competitive guy. And I was like, yeah. So I looked into it and I was like, oh, okay, it's like $300. I'll take the classes. I can do this. I can do this. And so sure enough, the next 3 months, I knocked out all the classes online, got my license, hung a shingle with him, and just thinking it would be kind of a little side gig. And here we are, almost 13 years later.
And you don't work with him anymore, do you?
I don't know. So, and JT still is a phenomenal agent who's doing great. He owns a brokerage called the Real Estate Project in Collin County. He would be a great person to talk to as well. So I worked with him for the first 4 years that I was in the business. And then at year 4, I kind of always in my mind was like, when I get to year 4, I'm gonna get my broker's license. Like, I just kind of had that, like, when I get the chance to, I'm gonna get my broker's license. And he's based out of Collin County, and I live over here in Denton County. And so when it came time, I went and got my broker's license and opened my own brokerage right after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you've been an independent broker and you've got agents in your group as well.
Yes. So I believe that was 2017, opened independent brokerage. We grew to 11 agents, and then we actually joined Compass a few years later. There's a whole story behind that. Being a broker owner is not for the faint of heart. I made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot doing that. It was a great exercise. I'm grateful for it. But now we're actually a team. We're a team with Compass here in Flower Mound area.
Okay, very good. I was a broker for about 10 years. I just started as a broker.
Yeah.
And I never worked for a broker. There's a reason for all of this. I won't go in the background, but I
Yeah.
effectively just opened my business out of my garage and just started. I created a sign and put signs in yards and
Yep.
showed houses and just figured out how to write contracts. And I went from scratch. I got up to
Yeah.
about 10 agents. And then I decided that I wanted to make money. And that wasn't the way
So
to make
true.
money. The root
Yeah.
word of broker is broke. I mean, I don't know if you learned that.
So yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. When I tell people about that time in my life, I'm like, I had two full-time jobs because I was still producing, so I was like, I had two full-time jobs. One job paid me really well. The other job was like a lot of time and paid me like I just got my first job out of college. And they both were the like same amount of energy. And so I was doing two full-time jobs. One paid me well, one didn't. And so, when the opportunity availed itself to no longer be a broker owner, I took advantage of the opportunities. So,
Yeah, it shocks me on brick and mortar because there's not really any way to scale effectively when you have admin and brick and mortar fixed costs.
yeah,
You have to take too much from the agent to make it work,
yep,
and it's not worth it for the agent to do it.
that's
And
right.
if you go the other way and you become too lean, then you have to have a very large amount of agents, which is the fixed flat fee way.
That's right.
And you scale too large and then you're no support, right?
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I think in the age of the real estate industry consolidation that we've seen in the past several years, it makes it more and more challenging to be a boutique broker and compete. And so you're kind of seeing that like, and honestly, like between you and I, we probably represent like two ends of the spectrum in terms of like brokerage strategies. You got like the EXPs and the Compasses of the world. Both are executing on brokerage strategies that are profitable and work. But I think it's hard to be anything in the middle. And honestly, there's a heavy investment on both of those to make those work. And a lot of it has to do with technology. And so I think it was interesting to be a broker owner. I'm grateful for it because it actually gives me a lot of gratitude for the role that a broker plays, just with knowing everything that goes into it and all the costs associated. So I'm grateful for that time. I'm also grateful to not be a broker owner anymore.
I'm with you. Yeah, I've been asked a number of times to look into that role just because volume of production and everything else. And I'm going on my seventh icon because I've been here for like 6.5 years.
Yeah,
And they've asked, but it would cut my pay by 80%
yeah,
and way more stress. And now they own me. You know, they control your hours. There's a whole lot of
yeah,
responsibilities, and they just, I'm like, man, that doesn't sound interesting at all to me. I mean, I like I'm an entrepreneur just like you are. I like to have the
yeah,
freedom to kind of do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I like coaching and training and I love building community.
yeah. Same.
And I can do that without being a broker.
That's I think to your point. I think that's what I was most excited about, kind of coming from a background in sports. I really enjoy coaching and training and like watching people succeed. I've just realized I don't need to be the broker to do that.
Sure. All right, let's go. Let's cover some real estate related things.
Yeah.
The show that I've created here, it's from agents for agents, right? The audience is not retail. We can talk technical. And you've got some ways that you've built your business and had a lot of success. And one of them I know you mentioned was client care to me. So how do you see that as a part of your business philosophy?
Yeah. So at the beginning of my business, I think some of this started just like how I got started in the business. I was super young. I think I was 25 years old when I got licensed. And, when you're 25 years old, a big part of like the buyer or seller pool for you is not going to be your peers because most 25-year-olds don't have the cash to buy their first house. First houses, some did, but not many. And so really it was like potential client pool was like parents of friends. And then, outside of that, it was difficult to convince people that a 25-year-old who doesn't even own a home is equipped to sell a home. And so I quickly got engaged in the investor community. Early on, I was intrigued by it. I was curious about it. I really wanted to like learn the ins and outs of investing. And so I ended up getting pretty plugged in with some investor networking groups. And in the process, started working with investors. And at the time, it was like, hey, I knew I needed the reps. I needed to learn how to sell homes. And so I was willing to sell flip homes for less than other people at the time because I just knew I needed the reps. And so the deals that I would strike with these investors is like, hey, I will sell your homes for very little, but I want the opportunity to be on site for like to learn the construction side of the business. I want to learn like the ins and outs of investment. Like I want to learn it from the contractors. I want to learn it from the number side. Like I really want to wrap my head around this. And so as a result, I ended up learning a lot about how homes worked, what things cost, like learning how to assess and estimate renovation costs and repairs and that sort of thing, and got a lot of reps that way. And I know that's a lot of what you've done as well. But what I think one of the values that's allowed me to provide over the years is, when we're making a listing ready for sale or we're in the middle of repair negotiations, it gives me an ability to bring context into the situation and also over time really help my clients like execute on the things we need to get done. So we've kind of created this concierge aspect to our business, which is, when we come and do a listing appointment and it's an overwhelming thing for our clients, it's like the logistics of selling a house is nerve-wracking. You're talking about, we've got kids running around and our schedules and school and work. And oh, by the way, we need to get our home ready for sale and make it look pristine. And we've got to allow people into our house, which is invading our space. So we've really seen our role as like, how can we take as much of that stress off of the client as possible? So we've really tried to like curate a process that makes it feel like as stress-free as possible. And over the years, what that's looked like is creating really great partnerships with, vendors and contractors that we trust. And then, asking our clients, hey, would you like us to go ahead and just arrange this for you? We could take this off your plate. We'll take care of it for you if that would be helpful. And over the years, more and more clients have availed us or availed themselves of that option. And so we've kind of built that out now into our business to the point where we have an employee on our team whose sole role is client concierge. That is it, both for those who are currently working transactions with us, where they are arranging contractors, coordinating make-readies for listings, helping coordinate repairs, both for our post-closing for buyers, like things that were on the inspection report that didn't get repaired yet, or if they want to have paint done or flooring done, that side, or on the sales side, whether it be make-ready or post-inspection repairs that were negotiated, we help arrange for that, really trying to make the process as streamlined as possible. And that is his entire role, both in the transaction and then for our past clients. Say you have one number that you can call, and we are the extension of your agent relationship with us. Is that, hey, for as long you're our client for life, if you need anything house related, you can call, and we have a guy dedicated to help you figure that out. And we'll put you in touch with our contractor, and we'll actually see it through. We'll make sure it gets done right. We'll follow up with you. And so we've invested really heavily in the client relationship and making sure that we're like providing value both through closing and beyond closing. And we just found over the years, like I don't know about you, but like in the years that I've been doing this business, I've spent thousands of dollars on lead generation and all sorts of marketing things of all different kinds. And I've just found for every dollar you spend on client care is worth $10 to $20 spent in marketing spend. It's like word of mouth trust is priceless.
Yeah.
And your people will market for you if you take really great care of them. And it is so much easier to engage a relationship with a referral client or a repeat client than it is to build trust with somebody from zero from an online lead. And I've done it that way too.
Yeah.
I've been there, I've tried them all. And so what we're doing is we're just taking all the dollars that we would have spent on marketing, and we're just turning them like back around to invest in the people that we already know. And we're just gonna make their lives as it relates to home ownership as easy as possible.
So the concierge aspect is definitely above and beyond what most agents are going to do, right? That's also going to drive up your price point. The expectation at a 350 house on a concierge service is not the same expectation on something a million plus.
Sure.
And it's going to be naturally progressive, and they're going to expect more from you to handle. And sometimes they may not expect it. So it's a value add that they can appreciate.
Yep.
In a lower price point, they just won't see definitely won't get the same care, but it will definitely start driving up that price point, because the ones that are referring you are the ones that say, he took care of things outside of our transaction above and beyond. And that would be an excellent referral for someone else that's in that price range. That's probably a more upper end price range.
Yeah, I think that's been true over time. And we do like we make a point to not make it a different experience for those that are in lower price points. Like we
Well,
have
you don't
clients
have to make it a different experience, but building in a concierge element at a price
100%.
point of 350 is probably not as practical as one that's 800 plus. You don't have to treat them different, but it's just not quite as practical.
Totally. And the reality is the people that are going to appreciate that are probably the people, the way that I put it is like, hey, there's always going to be a Whole Foods and there's always going to be Walmart.
Sure.
But there's both of those businesses are going to make great money, but there's different people shopping at those two businesses, right? And so we are trying to set up a business that is a Whole Foods type business, like high value, high touch. And it's not everybody's going to appreciate that, but not everybody's going to hire us either. And that's okay. Like we don't need to work with everybody. But the people who do appreciate that are really going to appreciate the service that we provide. And then there's going to be people that just want the discount, and that's fine. That's just not our buyer or seller.
Sure.
And that's a trade-off that you have to be willing to make. And I think speaking to agents and agents that are listening to this, I think it's important to know where you want to land on that spectrum. Because the truth of the matter is, if you get stuck in the middle and you straddle the fence and you don't know where you land, I think that's the middle is the one that gets squeezed out. It's like you either need to decide you're going to compete on price or you're going to compete on value. And you kind of have to pick one. You can't really like be in the middle and do well because your value proposition is going to be unclear
Yeah.
and the consumer's not going to know where you are. And then
Well,
once you
and you
once you
won't
pick one, you
know
got to
where you
commit
are.
to it. You
You
got to
won't know
really
where you
go
are.
on.
Like you offer over the top on one person, and then you might forget on the next, and you don't offer the same
Yeah,
service.
that's right.
Because maybe they wanted it at a lower discount. You're right. You got to kind of pick which way you're going to be because you
Totally.
can even miss it up on how you treat every client. You almost have to treat them all different if you don't.
That's right. Yeah,
You
and
know?
it's hard to keep it straight because I think in the past, I haven't arrived at this like overnight. I think it's been a lot of trial and error. And I've just realized that like what fires me up about what I do and what I get really passionate about is creating like an unbelievable client experience. When I read books about business that get me excited, they're usually hospitality books. Like I love Unreasonable Hospitality is a great one. I love Setting the Table, which is by Danny Meyer, who started Shake Shack, but he also started, a lot of the really high-end restaurants in New York. There's a book called, oh gosh, Excellent Twins by a guy named Horst Schulze, who is the co-founder of Ritz-Carlton. Like they're all hospitality books. They're not real estate books, but they fire me up because they're all about creating this like really high-end experience for clients. And so I've just found over the years, it's like I need to operate a business that gets me fired up because I'm going to want to show up to work and do a great job if that's the business I run. If I'm constantly like undermining the bottom line by giving discounts left and right and subtracting value as a necessity, I'm just going to get burnt out. That really will burn me out. And the trade-off to that is sometimes I miss out on business that I could have had because I won't cut commission. And that's okay. In the long run, that's okay. I think you have to figure out what fires you up and just commit to it. Just, commit to that being the person that you're going to be.
I love it. So one of the other things that you and I've talked about is agents naturally have a competitive spirit about what they do and in their local market, right? It's really exceptionally true. You and I talked or offline about brick and mortar versus the cloud-based model.
Yep.
And one of the things about brick and mortar is they create a scenario where you come to a local office in a local area and no one wants to share because you're all talking to the same clients. That's the way they perceive it. And it's created this kind of competitive environment. That's one of the things that Cloudbase has been able to do is take the shackle off. You and I are at different brokerages, and I'll tell you anything that I'm doing that's successful. And I feel the same about you with me
Totally.
because we're likely never gonna have the same client. And you and I don't even live far from each other. We're only
Yeah.
probably about 12
Yeah.
minutes apart. I don't see you that way, and I don't think you see me that way. So there's this opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity for business. So how do you feel about, the competition aspect with agents today?
Yeah. It's such a good point. And I think, I had a business coach early in my career that I worked with for a couple of years. And he used to say something is like, I only need to sell 30 homes a year to make an incredible living. And there's 300 million plus people in this country. and I only need to work with 30 of them. And probably a couple of those people are going to buy and sell. So really I only need to work with 20 of them. I can go find 20 people. I don't need to worry about competing with people. And I thought that that was really helpful for me being young in the business to go like, hey,
It's insightful.
yeah, the pie is really big. And at the end of the day, there's I think a guy named Kevin Kelly wrote an article called A Thousand Raving Fans. And his whole thesis behind the thing is like you can have like as big of a business as you want. It's gonna like, create a legacy for you and take care of your family for years and years and years. If you can just build a community with 1,000 raving fans, like you don't, and 1,000's a lot. In our business, it doesn't need to be that
Yeah,
many.
Ryan, I mean, you could have 50, and 50 is even more than you need.
Yeah,
If you had about 15 just raw fans, every one of them will refer you one or
that's it.
two a year. Every one
That's
of
it.
them will.
That's it. And
Yeah.
so that really is, so when one of the things I said to you is like, I don't compete for business anymore. And that's not meant to be arrogant at all. What I mean by that is like, if I walk into a listing appointment and the person tells me they're interviewing three other agents, which it happens honestly pretty rarely for me these days. Most of the time I'm talking to one person. I'm the only agent that they talk to. We have a great conversation and we sign a listing agreement. But on occasion, people want to shop. And so it used to be like the way that I'd want to respond to that is to go, well, here are all the reasons you should work with me and not with them. Your competitive spirit gets going. And then all of a sudden you're like, let me like tell you why I'm awesome. Number one, I don't like the way that feels. Like, I don't know who I'm competing with. I don't need to badmouth anybody else. But number two, like I don't want to be desperate. I don't want to be desperate. I want to always approach a client from a place of service, right? So as soon as I make it about me, I'm not coming from a place of service. And really, I'm not being authentic to what my promise is to them, right? My promise is to put you first. My promise is to like make sure that I'm doing what's best for you. And so as soon as I start like twisting to that place of like, I need to like show you why I'm the best, I'm immediately out of that frame of mind. And so I've just found that I enjoy my job a whole lot better. That when they tell me they're interviewing other agents, I just go, hey, that's awesome. And you should. Like, this is a really big decision. You should interview other agents. And if you feel like I'm the best fit, you just let me know. And we just leave it at that. And I think what I've found to be true, and it's kind of counterintuitive, is I get that business most of the time. And I think the reason for that is it's different. When they tell the other agents I'm interviewing other agents, they immediately get into sales mode. And people don't like to be pressured. They want to know that like you're not desperate, that you're coming from a place of service and that you care. And so I've just made a decision to go, I'm not going to compete. I'm not going to compete for business. I'm not going to come from a place of scarcity in those conversations. And I'm just going to choose to know like if it's meant to be and they want to work with me, they will work with me and it will be enough. And if it's not, then it's not. And there's enough business out there. And that's been a big paradigm shift for me over the years. And it's honestly helped me to have a lot more peace in my business, just to go, hey, it's going to work out if it's meant to work out. And if it's not, that's okay. But what I find is when I approach it that way, typically clients, they really like resonate with that in a good way. And I end up getting the business.
I love it, Ryan. Thank you for that. So
Yeah.
what do you think is the best advice you've ever received?
So JT Hardcastle, shout out to JT Hardcastle. I sat down with him right after I got my license and I went over to his house and I was his first agent ever, keep in mind. And he was pretty young in the business because back then you could get a broker's license, I think, in 2 years. And
Yeah, without selling anything. That's how I got my broker license.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So I don't know how much business he was doing at the time, but I know I wasn't doing a whole lot of business 2 years into the business. But to me, he was an expert because I was brand new and I didn't know any better. And I remember sitting down and he's walking me through the MLS and he's showing me how to run comps and we're just doing some of the basics together. And I remember I kind of turned to him and I was like, all right, so tell me, like, how did you build your business? Like, I want the secret to the universe type of thing because I don't know anything. And I remember that he turned to me and he's like, you know what, man, I don't really like have a whole lot of secrets, but he was like, one thing I will say is like, I just always take try to take really good care of people. And if you take really good care of people, your business will grow. And I was super disappointed with that answer at the time. I was like, come on, man, like give me the 10 steps, like you do this. And I remember at the time kind of feeling like, "Ugh, what a letdown answer." And man, it's just could not have been a more like tried and true perfect answer. And it goes back to the client care, but like that is really the best advice that I could have possibly received. And it is the advice that I would give to any agent. It's like all of your energy and attention, if you have one client, if you put all of your energy and attention into making sure that you take incredible care of that person will be like a multiplication factor for your business in the future, right? Like they will go tell people, they will happily advocate for you. They will be free marketing from here to Timbuktu as long as you stay in touch with them, and your business will grow. If you don't do anything else well, do that, and I think that was the best advice that I've received.
Sure. You have a lot of intention and energy you put into that space. So how do you find rest, in our
Yeah.
business?
Yeah, that's a good
You
question. I
know,
think,
because you're thinking, like you said, I've got one client, I've got to put all my energy to make sure I'm ahead of them. And this is one of the
yeah,
advice I always give agents: get to the point where you're always ahead and we don't have surprises. That will
so good.
eliminate a lot of anxiety in your transaction.
So good.
But that means you're thinking about it all the time. And if you've got, like you and I, we've got numerous transactions we're
Yep,
working on. How do you find a break? We got
totally.
kids, we got time away from work. How do you turn it off when we have a weekend evening business?
Dude, that's such a good point. I think the truth is you have to choose to prioritize rest first. Like you're not going to naturally, if you're an achievement oriented person, right? Like most of us are who are entrepreneurial. I think the hardest thing for me at the beginning of my career was like I'd be sitting at home with my family, well, before kids with my wife, and it's 8 o'clock and we're hanging out, and my brain is thinking about all the things that I should be doing, or did I do enough today? Did I make enough phone calls? And you have to make a decision, I think, to go, okay, these are the days I'm going to take off. And here is the white space I'm going to build in my calendar. And that has to come first. And everybody gets that backwards, where they're like, I'm going to hustle, I'm going to grind, I'm going to work X amount of hours. And then if I have time, I'll work out or I'll spend time with my family or I'll whatever. And it's actually the inverse. I think, I've heard it said, it's like you need to work from a place of rest. Don't rest from your work, right? Like rest needs to come first. And if you're coming from a place of rest, then you'll go into your work energized. I think that's important. And then I think outside of that, like systems are important. Like as quickly as you can when you get into the business, find systems for the repeatable actions in your business. And then once you get a place of sustainability in terms of like you feel like you have a consistent amount of income, like I would outsource and get help. Get a transaction coordinator. That would be the first thing that I do. I would do that honestly, I would do that from day one, just because those repeatable actions, that administrative work, like it will eat your lunch, and you have no business doing it. You can pay a transaction coordinator a few $100 a transaction. You pay them when you get paid, and it's a great way to create a little bit of margin so you can keep your eye on the ball of taking care of your clients, building your business. And then when you have time, like I would hire an admin who can help you like on a more regular basis with some of the repeatable tasks, but like systematize everything that you can. And that's a big lever. I mean, I think that's a huge lever for anybody that wants to do a meaningful amount of business, because otherwise you're inventing the whole thing from scratch on every transaction. And it takes a lot of mental energy to do that.
Sure. And your hourly wage goes way down
Huge.
when you're chasing all the task related items that you can assign. I'll give
100%.
one tip because my mind doesn't stop. Just I'm sure yours is always running,
Yeah.
all the time. And one of the tips that I have, because I do have intentional time with my family and I'm not thinking about work, but
Yep.
I get things that come into mind. For example, at night you're sleeping and then you have something that you want to remember.
Yep.
I used to stay up. I used to not be able to find rest because I keep thinking about it. It keeps coming back
Yep.
to my mind. So
Yep.
what I figured out is I immediately I put it on my calendar is what I do.
Yep.
But put it down somewhere. The moment I took it off of my mind, I put it on a calendar, I stop thinking about it. And then I move on. So if you're at that point where
Such
you're
a
always
good,
thinking of things, just put it down somewhere and then you'll stop thinking about it.
call it my second brain. Like I use the reminders app on my phone, and my family will laugh at me, but like my cell phone, first of all, it lives in a cabinet overnight that charges in the kitchen. I think that's a big thing. Like we live with our phone on us all the time. I have a voicemail. My voicemail says, if you're calling me after 7 o'clock, I'll get back to you in the morning. My phone goes to do not disturb after 7 p.m. Like I have my phone, you have to find distance from your phone because it will always put work in front of you too.
Sure.
So at 7 o'clock, like dinner time for our family, my phone gets plugged in and it's away. But before I do that at night, I will like sit there with my phone and my family will laugh at me and I'll go, "Hey Siri, remind me to, remind me to, remind me to." And I try to do this mental download of like, what are the things that are kind of like buzzing in the back of my head that I feel like are open loops that I haven't closed yet today? And I'll just be like, "Hey, remind me in the morning." And then at 7 a.m. the next morning, that whole list pops up. And when I sit down at my desk, the first thing I do, I write it down on, I have a pad of paper. It's nothing fancy. It's analog. I take it out of my phone and I write it down on my pad of paper. And then I think that the next key to anybody who's like has help is go through that list. And instead of going through and trying to knock all those things out yourself, first question you ask is, can someone else do this for me? What do I need to now? I need to like delegate these things off unless there's something only I can do. So then in an ideal world, all of those things you then delegate off. And I think that's a key. Like I call it my second brain. It's like I need to get it out of my brain. I need to put it in my second brain. So you and I are right in alignment on that.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you doing this podcast with me. So you have a podcast of your own, Principled Podcast.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
that about?
Yeah. So honestly, very similar thing. But we kind of get into like mostly like the story and background of agents, the top producing agents, but kind of all over the country. So less in the DFW market. We interview agents from all over the country just to kind of hear what's working in different markets, hear like what their unique, value propositions are and the way that they built their business. I'm a huge fan of biographies. If you could give me no other book, I'd love to just work through a really thick biography because I think we learn really well through stories. And so I just love to hear the stories of people. So Colin Roberts, who is my business partner on my team, he and I interview, top 1% agents all over the country, and we just get into their story. We listen to how they got started, how they built their business, the challenges they overcame, all of that sort of thing. So we've got one season in the books on that too. So yeah, if you like this podcast, you'll probably like that one and vice versa.
I love it. So you are obviously on Facebook and social media as Ryan Enos and then the Enos group.
Yep.
Okay. So you're at
That's right.
all those places. Any last things that you'd like to share before we jump off from this episode?
No, I mean, I think most agents would probably say this has been one of the harder years, just in terms of even if you're doing a lot of business, I think the business is harder. And I think, man, now more than ever, it is really easy to get alone in this business and like be a lone wolf. And I would just encourage agents to find other agents and collaborate and like, share best practices. Like now is a really good time to not be on an island, and I just appreciate you inviting me on the show. I think one of the ways that we can become better as an industry and more professional is by doing just this, like listening to best practices, hearing each other's stories, and honestly just being encouraged by the fact that we don't have it all figured out. We all have things that we are really good at and things that we can get better at. And so I just encourage people, don't be an island. This year is a hard year in real estate, and it will get better, but stick with it, be gritty, and reach out to other agents.
I love it. That was the purpose of setting up Real Estate Success DFW. I didn't set up anything bigger or broader or more generic. I specifically am looking to connect with agents here, and I really am focused on the community aspect. So I have a couple of community type real estate agent events that I do every month, and I have them come out to my office in Flower Mound. Sometimes I'll go out, sometimes I'll teach, but most of the times I have other really successful agents teach. So I like the community aspect. I don't care what brokerage you're at. And I always teach that brokers don't sell real estate, agents do, right? So
Right.
agents are the ones that are selling it. They're the ones that keep the clients. They're the ones selling all that. So the branding is not quite as important. And you do things to who you are organic to who you are, you'll be
Totally.
successful. So just stay consistent. So thank you for jumping on our podcast this week. And for
Man,
all
it's
of
my
those
pleasure.
that would like to know more about Ryan, I'll post it in the YouTube channel. I'll post the actual links of his podcast and his social media. For all of you out there, thank you for joining. And if you want to hear more podcasts that we have every Friday, please join me here on this channel. Please subscribe. And until next time, have a high performance week. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0383. Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success DFW. Have a high performance week.